And speaking of barns, our next guest is one of our greatest assets here at West Coast Robotics. He is our resident expert on T4C and our cowman extraordinaire. He is West Coast Robotics farm management specialist and everyone's favorite Frenchman, Mr. Denis Langlois.
Well, thanks, Mitch. Sure is nice to be alone in that category. Let's keep it that way. So my outline for today, we're going to talk about FMS, and that stands for Farm Management Support. And what that means, you're going to hear it a lot from our sales team and from everyone at West Coast Robotics. So I'm going to go into what that means for you and your farm. I have a background in the feed industry. I worked in the feed industry in Quebec and Ontario for 8 years. So we're going to just quickly go over what the feed cost is and a study that was done a couple years ago on robotic farming. And then we're going to look at monitoring cow performance and management and what that looks like and tying the two in together. And then we're going to look at T4C and what it's going to look like in the future, which is Horizon actually. So we're going to look at that and transferring what you see on the computer into app and mobile solutions while you're in the barn on your day-to-day task. So this is a study by Penn State University that was done in 2017. As you can see on the graph here, it compares conventional dairy farming with robotic farming and the different types of different ways to feed. Conventional has both parlor and tie stall included in there, and as you can see, there's quite a big spread, and the main message here is really there's a misconception with robotic farming that it's more expensive, and as you can see right here, it doesn't necessarily have to be. And you can see the link here. That's a study you can have a deeper look into on Penn State University's website. But basically, what they came out with was it was $550 per cow per day for robotic farms versus $564 on non-robotic milking farms. And production was about just over 35 kgs for robotic farms versus 33 for non-robotic farms. So just wanted to go over that and cover that little bit of misconception regarding feeding in the robots. Like you bought robots, and now what? Those robots give you a lot of values, a lot of different data points, 120 different values per cow per day. So what do you do with that? And that's what farm management is all about. That's where I come in, basically after, a little bit before startup and after. And farm management is really optimizing the robot and bridging the gap between what you see on what the information gives you on the robot on your computer and what you see in the farm. So bringing the two together to reach your goals. Some of the information that you get on there is rumination, activity and rumination every 2 hours. You get feed intake every day or every milking, and you get rest feed per day. You also get their body weight every visit, and then a whole bunch of different data points and values that you can analyze every day. I'm not going to go into all of them. I'm going to focus on rumination, somatic cell count, and weight scale, and what that gives you when you use those values. So first, we're going to look at the health report. The health report basically combines all the information, the features that you have from your robot, depending what options you buy. That report's going to be more and more accurate. So based on that report, as you can see, we have a different sick chance, and we can route cows based on that to the attention pen and have that cow routed to the right place when you need her. So not have to disturb the whole cow. And depending on a farm, that threshold might be 40% sick chance or 60% when you want to see them, but that can really be customized. So a good example here on the table, you see that cow at the bottom of the table says 10% sick chance. And you can see that cow is three days fresh. So she doesn't really have a good rumination average, not a relevant one anyway. So we're not really taking that into consideration in the sick chance calculation. So it's nice to have a report like that combines all the data point, but it's also nice to be able to dig into one specific data point and see what's going on with different cows. So you have the health report that combines it all together, but then we can look at a rumination report where, for example, again, that cow that was 10% sick chance. Well, if we look at the rumination report, we can see that she's dropping rumination real quick. So it might be a good opportunity to either route her to the back of the robot or go see her in the barn and see what's going on. Next is somatic cell counter. We all know that mastitis is very costly on dairy farms. I don't have to tell you this. But another misconception, I guess, is that conductivity is a good measure of finding out which cow has mastitis. And that can be true sometimes, but it's not necessarily true all the time, depending on which kind of mastitis we're dealing with. So here's a good example on the graph you have on the screen now. The 4 lines in the middle is conductivity for each quarter. You can see the left rear quarter has 3 points. The dots are all attentions. So the 3 points that you see is when she would have been flagged for conductivity. But then after that, it levels out and is kind of even with the other quarters. So you wouldn't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with that cow. So you wouldn't do anything. If you didn't have an SCC counter, a somatic cell counter, which is the blue line that you see, then you wouldn't necessarily have spotted that cow. And you can see that cow is going from 200,000 to 2.5 million. So it's quite a big jump. And that graph is very typical of Staph aureus mastitis. This is something that I commonly see on multiple farms. And being able to see this, it gives you a lot of value to be able to take this and be like, okay, maybe we should sample that cow, get her cultured, and ask the vet to get a culture on her and see if we're actually dealing with somatic cell Staph aureus or another different type of mastitis. Report 19 is a heat probability report. I'm not going to dive too much into the heat probability. All I'm going to say is really the report gives you, based on the rumination and activity information, it's going to give you a chance of heat or a level of heat probability that she's in. And it's going to give you the little bar graph that you see there for optimum insemination moment. And again, everything that I'm talking about, we can route cows to the separation area and really have the right cows at the right time that you need to deal with. But really what I want to focus on here is the health remark. You can see on the table there, in the last column, it says kgs. And that's really, like Ben Marhai said in the video earlier, is to point out that this cow is in heat, but she's losing weight. So maybe it's a good idea to either, if you still want to breed her, but it's a good idea to maybe have a look at her and see how much body weight is she losing, and is it worth my time and my money to breed her right now. Next, we have here the apps. The apps are very useful when you're looking at cows in the barn and trying to see if you have 5 cows in the separation pen. Why are they there? What do I need to do with these cows? Why did they get routed? That's one aspect. But also, if you're walking around the barn and you see a cow that maybe is limping or is in heat, you can right away look at your phone and see the cow's information, her last milk visits, her last conductivity, if she was a failure. There's a whole ton of information you can see right from your phone. And over here, if we look from left to right, the first screenshot that I took here, it basically shows you that you can click on it and see which cows were routed, and then you can expand on it. If you look at the second screenshot, it's showing you each cow that's in that pen and why they're there. Based on the filters that we built, that I built with you and customized on your farm, we can see some cows are there for heat probability. Some of them are there for a sick chance. Some of them are there for the vet to have a look at. So we can really customize that. And then if you need to, you can again click on the specific cow and expand as to why is she on there. Really see, like, this cow's on there for a sick chance. Well, what's making her high on the sick chance? And then if you need to, again, if you want to enter a treatment right there, you can click on her, go straight to her cow card and enter the information you need to right then and there. You don't have to walk back to the office and do your management there. You can do it right there in the barn. So that's really an awesome tool to have. So in the future, for those that maybe don't have robots yet, you're not going to see a transition between the two. But right here on your screen, you can see there's a screenshot of what T4C, which is going to be called Horizon. This is what it's going to be looking like. So it's in a way very similar to what T4C looks like, but in other ways very different. So it's kind of a new clothing on T4C. Basically, it's a fresh look. It's really nice. And then moving that to the app as well. If we can move on here, the app is very similar to what the desktop is going to look like. You saw a screenshot of the previous or the current app. But this is a screenshot of the what that's going to look like in a few months when Horizon is released. So it's kind of nice to be able to seamlessly transition between what you see on your desktop and your app, and being able to do the same thing on both ends. Horizon has a bunch of new features that's coming out as well. Some of them here are listed. Margin per cow is one that's coming out. That's going to be really nice, where you can put in your price for milk, price for components, and the cost of your PMR, and that will give you a margin per cow depending on how much milk she eats, and figuring out if you have a vector, obviously that's going to be more accurate. But otherwise, it's going to use your average numbers for feed intake in terms of PMR, and then her feed intake for robot grain intake. But that's going to give you really a good tool to see if I know every farm has their favorite cow they want to keep no matter what. But that's going to give you a good tool to see is it worth spending the money on that cow, or am I okay to keep her, or should we do something else with her? So the next three are advices that are going to come in the app, in the desktop, basically, and they're really going to look at different metrics. And this is where making the most out of this is having all the features and options that the robots are offering. So when you're looking at buying a robot, it's in your best interest anyways, in my opinion, to have all the features and all the options you can have to make these tools also more accurate and better for you. So the failure reduction advice is going to take some history of the cow, if she's failing and why she's failing. It's going to take the measurements of what it sees on the cow when it goes to attach her, and basically recommend you maybe she should be singed, or maybe she should be on a 2 times a day milk access. There's a few things that might suggest you, and if whether you accept that advice and do something with it or not, those advice are going to get better. It's a little bit like you like a video on YouTube, it's going to suggest you more videos like that. It's the same thing with those advice. They're going to get better as you use them. The next one, ketosis advice. again, going back to the feature, if you have a weigh scale, that's going to be even better because it's going to know if that cow is losing body condition or weight. So it's going to tell you, maybe that cow has ketosis. Would you like to treat her? Would you like to maybe give her some extra grain? Would you like to give her glycol? If you have that on farm, there's a couple of advice that might suggest to you. And the same with keep open advice, as we looked at earlier. It's going to look at, yes, if maybe she's losing body weight, but also previous record. That one doesn't work on first calvings, first calf heifers. But based on her history, if you've bet her many times and whatnot, it's going to give you if she's in heat, but actually maybe you should keep her open and not rebreed that cow. The last one that's going to come in Horizon, and there's going to be more development in the future, but the pre-treatment optimizer. So that's a really nice feature as well, where it's going to measure when that cow maybe doesn't have as good of a milk letdown or milk flow, and it's going to go like, actually this cow, she takes a good 20 seconds to let her milk down. Maybe we should have more pre-treatment time. So I know there's a lot of talk when you're buying a robot, how fast can it attach her? How fast can we get the cups on her? But actually maybe on some cows, it's better to wait and have a better pre-treatment. So that's going to do it on its own, and it's going to measure each cow individually, their milk letdown, and see, does she need more pre-treatment? So this is really cool tools that are coming with Horizon in the very near future. To end with, just a quick look at what the margin per cow is going to look like here. This is a graph of a cow, and it's going to show you what her margin per cow was in the last 6 months. And based on her pregnancy status, production, and when she's going to go dry and freshen, is going to show you the next 6 months what you can expect for that cow, or what it anticipates that cow to be in terms of margin per cow. So that's it for me for today, but we're going to move on to Colbrit Farm. This is a farm right here in Agassiz that started right now just about a year ago. And it's really exciting stuff going on that farm. Peter, son, and Gordon, Ruby are going to tell their story here. So I'll let them tell their story.
Petersons first bought this place in November '43, so my grandfather came out from the prairies, and Dad took over, I guess, in the mid-50s, and I've been here for 60 years now, I guess, too. So,
well, I'm Ruby. I'm Gord's wife. We've been married for, I guess, 31 years, and when I married him, there was still a few Guernseys, and slowly they bred themselves off the farm, basically, is what happened. And
come on, you just like both teeth better.
Well, that too.
well, we had a Juno before the fire, 7 or 8 years or whatever. We've had a Juno, and it worked real well. As far as the robots, it was their decision. I was a hands-on parlor guy. We had a nice parlor. I was fine with the parlor.
I was one on the fence about which color to go between red or blue. And when they took me out to look at the new A5s, I was actually very impressed with what they could do and how they were working. So I came back and I was ready to side with Mom on this one.
The switch to the robots has been really easy. Transition was very good. I was all concerned about what issues we were going to have. We never knew, but the switch over from the parlor down the road to the robots here went very good.
West Coast support was great. We
Yeah.
thought it.
Absolutely
No complaints there. Anytime we had an issue.
I will add on to what Dad said and say, if you are sitting on that bubble of however many robots, thinking about adding the extra one, just do it. It takes so much stress off your time, and like you said, on startup days, just so much easier. You don't have to push 50% or 60% of a full robot through. because you can split that load between your robots.
Yeah, you always worry about the problems or what could go wrong, and but we had lots of help for the first few days, and after that, the cows learned.
Yeah, those are handy.
I'd go on even farther to say that I wasn't worried about the robots. I've seen what they can do, and I know that what they can do. I was more worried about him transitioning to the computerized aspect of things.
My time, I didn't have to be there at certain times, and I've been very regimented my whole life. This is what I do now, and it was like you sort of felt lost for a while. What, I don't have to be out there at this time. That was probably the bigger challenge for me.
Yeah. Right. Once we got the cows going, and okay, they're doing their thing, and calves are fed, and cows are fed. It's like we don't have to be down there. For all his life, 4 o'clock, that was chores time. At 5:30, that was milking time. Those are the numbers that you revolve around, and you don't have to do that anymore. It's kind of like, okay.
We've been up to just about 3.5 milkings a day, and the cows have been milking really well. So that's one of the things that has probably been a bigger benefit to us and the cows, in that the extra milking, just, because we'd have never done that. I'd have never done 3 times a day. That's just...
No, your shoulders wouldn't have let you do that.
So, it's nice having all the information there. I can get up and see, okay, yeah, this is what they're averaging or whatever, and go from there.
West Coast has been a great... You guys are a great support team. You're here for all kinds of ideas. We really appreciate you being able to come and sit down with us and showing us, okay, these are the things this thing is capable of doing.
We have purchased quota, and we haven't added cows. So, that we've got lots of room here to expand if we so desire to do that, and lots of robot space to use. So. Now, we've got pretty good genetics here. We've been trying to do a good job there, and right now with the new barn, they have lots of space, and that's huge as far as getting cows to, if they're comfortable and have lots of space.
Yeah.
And the feed's been good, so we can't give all the credit to West Coast.
Definitely not.
We had a little part in it.
Yeah. That was part of a recommendation when we started this whole process from the brass at the West Coast. Build bigger so that you have space to grow. You don't know what's going to happen in the future, but maybe their idea wasn't as much for having cows having more space to milk better, but you got options then. And as far as a startup, having that second row, I'll say that again, was just huge. It made the startup so much easier.
Anyone that gives you horror stories that, oh yeah, transitioning your cows from a parlor to robots, no, they're just giving you horror stories because they want to. It's not as bad
there
as
could be
they're
horror
made.
stories out there, but there's way more stories, I'm sure, like ours.
The amount of people that have come on in the farm, lots of people, they're all interested. They all knew about the fire and how are you doing and blah blah. How are the cows? I said, well, come on in and have a look. And they are absolutely blown away. They can't believe it. Like, wow, cows are milked like that. And it's word of mouth, right? And for the consumers, for the general public, they need to see that, look, we're treating our animals better than we treat ourselves to a large degree. And it's huge for us, and it makes them feel good, makes us feel good.